So 4-wheel drive, off-road. Steering is actually very, very light, and there's a little bit of hill descent. So it takes those things on with absolute ease. It's just like straight through. Here we go. Means that it will slowly crawl down hills and things like that, and means that you don't have to overly concentrate on the braking part. You can let the car kind of worry about that itself. Not quite sure if that hill would be ready, but certainly driving through just bits of crud and muck and stuff. Obviously I've got sensors that are going bananas. Probably worthwhile turning them off in case the car starts going, "What are you doing? You're about to crash." No, they're just twigs. This is well able for it. Pools of water and things that normally in vehicles you just look at them and you go, "Not today, lads." Not going to be the case in this Hilux from Toyota. As you can probably tell by the amount of muck that's already on it, this is not going to be a what's it like on city roads type review. At the back, it doesn't take as much as something like a Ford Wildtrak on this pickup part of it, but it will carry over a ton and it'll tow 3.5 tons. If you're letting this down, it falls fairly harshly. So just bear that in mind. There's tons of things to hook onto, and in this version, it's obviously not covered up, which means there's not much stuff you can leave in there. But as these finicky things go in the back of these pickup trucks, this one works pretty well, I have to say. There's also a bit of a step here for if you're getting up into it. And on the back of this model, you get rear parking sensors and an Invincible badge because it's a Hilux Invincible trim. More about those trims in a few minutes, but I think they're all probably invincible in some way or another. Crew cabs do sometimes suffer in the back in terms of leg room for rear passengers. There's a couple of things to grab onto when you're getting in to the back of the car as well. And when I get locked in, I can demonstrate that the windows go all the way down. Rear legroom, it's not shockingly bad. Like, it's, if you had a massive tall driver over 6 foot, it probably would get quite tight here. These things can hold 4 kilos in the back, little handy things. But be careful, if you leave them sticking out and you get in, you'll whack your knee off them. And the upright position of the seats, it's a little bit straight up, but again, most crew cabs are. In this one, there's 2 Isofix seats, nothing to charge any devices with in the back, but it does get better up front. So this option has keyless entry, again with this Invincible model, because, well, they get pretty much everything. It's all quite car-like in one sense up here, because you've got CarPlay and you've got cables and USB ports and 2 12-volt ports under here, and heated seat switches, which are down here and kind of hard to reach, and in the dark, okay, you'll get used to it, but they don't light up. So in the morning time when I've been driving this car, I'm fiddling around for the right one to heat myself up. Very easy to change the low and high 4-wheel drive ratios. Just a manual switch here. You can actually feel them and hear them whirring around as you do that. It's an automatic gearbox in this. You can start with a manual, of course you can. It's kind of nice though, just having that take care of itself, especially if you're off-road. There's a diesel particle filter system that will regenerate itself, and this car only has just over 1,000 kilometers on it, but I've seen it at work. It just works in the background. don't have to worry about it. But I have been doing shorter journeys. On those shorter journeys, you're getting about 10, nearly 11 litres per 100 kilometres. I've no doubt it will get better on motorways. We'll cover motorway driving in a second. But you're not buying this for its fuel economy. And obviously, if you're towing those 3.5 tonnes, that's going to increase too. They thought of a lot of storage things, like under here, you can use a 3-pin plug, and that's decent storage space there. 2 drinks holders here. Want to support the channel? Buy a chili bottle. Link in the description. There's another place for your phone and stuff down here. And then there's 2 glove boxes. One with just space for storing stuff and stay. The other one down here, which can be locked. And there's a couple of cup holders that pop out as well. So loads of drinks. If you're someone who likes to drink coffee on the move, it's for you. The steering wheel and all the plastics, they're hard and they're harsh. Like, you could nearly sand your hands off them. But it needs to be. You need to be able to clean this thing. Like, if you're ploughing through fields and mud, this is going to get dusty and dirty. I've no doubt it probably won't even get cleaned by some people, but it's nice to have the option that you can wipe it if you like. There's a power mode and an eco mode button down here. I'll explain more of them in a few minutes. And generally, it's a nice high up position to be in. The seating position is comfortable and you kind of feel king of the road behind the wheel of this. But I think in this sense, they've really got everything right. There's physical buttons for everything. Some of them are a little bit hard to reach, of course. But again, it's also nicely car-like as well. It's not going to feel too alien to anyone jumping in behind. And if you're used to driving crew cabs and pickups, well, you're going to be able to do it in your sleep. So this version of the Hilux is the Invincible. It's 49,795. The main thing is it's got a new 2.8 litre engine with an increase of 54 horsepower, which brings it over to 200, and a 100 newton meter top up of torque. It's over 500, which is more than enough. The exterior design has got some new changes over the wheel arches. It's got smartphone integration and improved off-roading with lower idle engine, improved acceleration characteristics and VSC. It's got an auto-limited slip differential, 310mm of ground clearance and 700mm of wading depth if you're in water. At the moment, all I can hear is all the muck that's congealed on the tyres hitting off the underbody of the car. Now, the leaf suspension, it is the one you want if you're doing a lot of off-road driving, because coilovers and stuff just mightn't last the test of wear and tear and all that. And they have tried to make this car, assuming it's used on the road more than anything, assuming it doesn't have 1 tons on the back, they've tried to make it as comfortable as possible. Now, it is still a bit bobbly as you're driving along on normal roads, even at sort of 60 kilometers an hour, but it's not as bad as something like the Mitsubishi L200. It's a lot better than that. But I suppose the Volkswagen Amarok probably does sit higher again. It also has a higher price. So there's a couple of things to consider. I wouldn't say this is not comfortable on the road, but the suspension setup means that kind of bumpy feeling is not totally gone. The handle's all right. Like, it's a tall machine, you know, lean into corners like this. Yeah, it shoots a bit wide. So you got an eco and a power mode. If you press the power button, the engine gets a bit louder and the gears hang on for a little bit longer. Here's a bump. You know, in that sense, the suspension is great. Plenty of things to grab onto if you are going through any sort of crazy off-road surfaces. People in the back, people in the front. They'll be able to hang on for dear life. At least you'll feel in control up front. The steering, there's not huge amounts of feedback in it at all. In fact, you can really kind of shake it from left to right and it doesn't have a huge impact on what position the pickup is going in. But the way the steering is set up is it's quite weighted at higher speeds. At lower speeds, it's very easy to turn the wheel. And then at off-road speeds as well, it tightens up a little bit. So really, for city driving, if it is going to spend a lot of its life in situations like that, then it's very light and easy to use. I love the way you don't really need to stop for speed ramps either. You can just go. I ain't waiting for nobody. And you can give it loads over that. But it's a really high up position. It's a big bus. Like, you do feel it. And I've noticed people kind of even looking at me in traffic going, like, what does he need that for? But if you do need something like this, if you're a farmer, I was talking to a foreman on the building site a few minutes ago. He knows farmers that have these and they absolutely swear by them. We're obviously very familiar with the fact that Top Gear tried to kill a Hilux in many different variations and couldn't succeed. So I've no doubt that they've had to try and make this car a bit more streetwise and work there, but also still make it really, really tough so it'll do the jobs off-road that it needs to do. And I think the Hilux is able to do that. You're going to want to go to 36,000 to get a double cab version, and then this version is 49, so there is a big jump. But if you like your luxuries, if you're someone who's working crazy hours from 6 in the morning, you don't get home till 8 o'clock at night, you might as well treat yourself, because you're going to be sitting in this thing a lot, maybe driving to different jobs and different sites a lot. You might as well do it in comfort. The fact you've got a heated seat, the fact that you have got your favourite way of connecting your phone to listen to your favourite tunes, that's all good. And yeah, you might as well, at least not be miserable when you're working. I love that intercooler sound when you start these up first thing as well. I wish they sounded like that all the time. That roar is just makes you feel like you're sitting in something big. Now look, it's a bit rattly, lower speeds, stop start traffic, to be expected. It's not the most refined of diesel engines, but we're not in a car. You have to remember that too. One area I have to praise it though is once you're on the move, it's really, really quiet. Like, you can be doing 100 kilometers an hour on a motorway and your passenger, you'll barely even have to raise your voice to them. So it's really, like, it's well insulated, and once that diesel engine is up to speed, it's really, really quiet, and the outside world, you'll barely hear it. So, I mean, even now I'm barely raising my voice at all, and it's perfectly audible. So they really have managed to get that balance of trying to refine it and trying to make it work for all the things you're going to want it to make it work for. So you've got to consider the Hilux if you're in the market for a pickup truck. This version, yes, it's expensive. So is the Amarok if you go for the fancier version of that. And this is just one of those things that is going to last forever and ever. And if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for longevity, a workhorse with a few nice additions, like there's even a sunglasses holder in this. If you're looking for something like that, well then the Hilux can do it all. I'm actually dropping this back to Toyota a little bit earlier than expected because they're going to need the extra time to wash it. I do have a couple of cars that I have to shoot over the weekend, but still, nobody can say that this Hilux hasn't been put through its paces. Thank you very much for watching. The support on the channel has been incredible. Whether you've sent me a few quid on PayPal to support the channel, that is really, really appreciated, or Patreon, or just by buying chili bottles, thank you so much. If you've got a comment or question, leave it below, and if you know someone who's in the market for a pickup or they're due an upgrade, send them this video. Thanks for watching.